All right. Well, welcome back to SoulBack. This is the R&B podcast, the first one of 2021. Happy New Year's to everyone tuning in, to you guys, of course, and 2021. We're looking forward to great things, and we're going to kick off this year by talking about 1995 R&B, guys.
1995, yes. This year, and what we'll talk about next week, these are like the two defining years of my music fandom, because late 94, mid 94, and definitely into 95 was right around the time I became like a music super fan. I've always been into music, but these were the years where I just turned it up to another level. So I'm going to have fun with this one.
Guys, before we discuss 1995, can I give a shout out since it's 2021? This is our first episode.
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks ago, I gave a shout out. I don't know if you guys remember. I forgot the guy's name live on the air. Unfortunately, I called the guy out. I didn't even remember his name. So since it's 2021, I want to start in a clean note, go in the right direction. I want to give another shout out. I want to give a shout out to another guy who I forgot his name. Unfortunately, this is a guy who he tried to call out our boy Kyle on the comments of one of his interviews for not paying attention or something during the interview, not seeming interested. Kyle responded by saying, "That's our style. We give the artist room to talk, let them share their story." The guy responded and said, "Yeah, you're right. I wish more interviewers would be like that." Wow.
Wait, what? So he threw slander, and then Kyle was like, "You're stupid because this is our style." And he was like, "Okay, you're right." That's my favorite kind of shutting somebody down.
Tom,
2021's off to a great start.
Tom,
I can tell.
I thank you for that compliment, and because it's New Year, let's have a toast. Ed has his water. I've got my Snoop Dogg wine here. You guys need to check this out.
Snoop
Dogg is on. This is actually delicious, Ed. I know you don't drink, but this is an amazing red wine.
Playa, the only thing I drink
Snoop is
are
on
the
here.
Tears of my haters. That's what this is. I'm drinking.
I already
tears.
told Kyle this podcast will be turning into Drink Champs for at least one episode at some point down the line, and it's going to be fun.
We've already had some Drink Champs up here. It was just unofficial. I won't blow you up.
Facts.
All right. Well, we're talking about 1995 R&B today. Just so everyone knows, we're going to keep doing this probably until 1992, and then we're going to do something else because I don't know how much longer we can really go. But 1995, I did the collage for this yesterday, started looking at all these albums, and a lot of great albums, and also a lot of great soundtracks. What a great year, 1995.
You probably had to do 19 different collages because there was so much meat on the R&B bone in 1995. And as you mentioned, not just that, soundtracks are plenty too. And we'll get into some of those as well. Another great year for soundtracks.
And Tom, a lot of great debuts as well. John B, obviously, you're really excited about that one. So we'll get to that one soon. Just hang on tight. But let's start off talking about some albums that came out in 1995. I'm going to start out with this one. Can we talk about Mariah Carey's Daydream album? Because this, to me, this is my entry point into R&B. My mom played this to death. I don't know if it's the best Mariah Carey album. I think some would argue Butterfly is better, but this to me is like the essential Mariah album. This is one of the first where we really get to see the R&B side of her with the Jermaine Dupri records, the Babyface records. Amazing album, Always Be My Baby, which I think, and I could be wrong, but after All I Want for Christmas Is You and maybe We Belong Together, I would argue that Always Be My Baby is the signature Mariah record. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, no question. No question. And as we talked about before on previous editions with Mariah, I love this album because not only do we get the one side, but we also got the JD remixes. It totally flipped these songs and gave them a whole new life and a whole new, really, direction on a different radio platform. She showed so much diversity with this record. I don't think it's her best. It's close. Number 2 for me. But no question, one of the best of the year and one of her defining albums that honestly, to me, I don't see enough praise on these social medias enough for this one, because when you look back in 95, this was a huge turning point for her.
It's interesting. I remember exactly where I was when this song came out, when I heard it for the first time, that's a sign of a timeless record,
Yep.
an ultimate classic. I love the versatility though of Jermaine Dupri, because if someone told you he produced it, you'd be like, that's not a Jermaine Dupri sound, but
Right.
look up the credits, he's on there.
Mhm.
But
He is.
when I think of this album though, saddest song ever alert, guys. One
Oh,
Sweet
God.
Day with
Oh,
Boyz II
man.
Men. Can't listen to it.
I'll admit that one does deserve to be on the list of saddest ever. I loved it, but they played it so much that it's to the point where I'm like, I can't do it no more. I'm all cried out word to allure them because I'm done.
And we got to talk about the song Underneath the Stars, because that's an amazing record too.
Yeah.
I mean, between that, you got Melts
Mhm.
Away. There's just so much on this album that I love, even beyond the singles and
Yep.
you know, Fantasy. I remember exactly where I was the first time I heard that. Always Be My Baby. I remember exactly where I was when I heard that, and the remix. There's just so much that's here that I love. That was as Sam said, you remember exactly where you were when these singles dropped, when these videos dropped. That's a timeless record.
Yep.
And then, of course, we have Tom, the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack, the one that Babyface put together, crafted it himself, written it, gave it to all these great artists. Like, can you just imagine how epic that is? Babyface, one of the greatest, puts together the soundtrack, and it's timeless.
It just makes me long for the days of soundtracks and like thinking about how this type of music came together. You get a legendary songwriter producer coming to put it together, tapping all these legendary artists. Like, man, we just need stuff like that right now. But Ed, being in that moment, what do you remember most about when it came out?
Man, we have talked. I don't know if we talked enough about how important soundtracks were in this era. So there are many soundtracks for songs like albums like New Jersey Drive. Like that's a movie nobody remembers, but you remember that soundtrack. And in this era, there were songs that would go on to promote these movies that would be bigger than the actual movies. This is one of the few examples where there was a gigantic movie that came out, tons of buzz, tons of hype. Like my mom and my aunts, all the women in my life had to go see this movie. And here you come with this incredible producer, got all these female soul singers on one record. We ain't make a big deal out of it. It was just women. Now y'all be writing 1,000 think pieces. But that's how it is. He was like, I'm going to get these female voices to tell this story. And it worked so well. My opinion, just your boy's opinion, it may be the best soundtrack of the 90s. It's between this and Boomerang. But this is one that is incredible, and still stands the test of time.
Tom, it's time to ask you the hardest question of the day.
Uh-oh.
Of these songs, which is the best song? We have Exhale, Shoop Shoop by Whitney Houston, Let It Flow by Toni Braxton, Sitting Up in My Room by Brandy, and Not Gonna Cry by Mary J. Blige. Out of those four, which are all on the same soundtrack and written by the same guy, which one of those are you going with?
You didn't even mention the SWV record, which someone in our comments mentioned should have been a single. Is this my personal favorite?
Yes.
Personally, I go towards the Brandy single and Toni Braxton the most. Just my personal preference. But you can't go wrong in any direction with, this whole album. What are you guys picking?
I might have to go. Personal favorite is Toni for sure.
Yeah.
But the best, I'm leaning toward Mary. It's just when you combine the writing and the production, I want to say that.
Yeah.
But it's real close. Again, there's no wrong answer on this one.
Yeah. That Mary song, man, I'm sure that got a lot of people through some heartbreak.
Oh, Lord, yes. Yes.
That's
there
one
were
of those
girls
songs.
coming to school with the head wrap and the big glasses on. And you saw that, you better go the other way because somebody's car is on fire.
Somebody's car is on fire. That happened in the 90s?
Yes.
No.
The 90s was not a game. Y'all didn't just invent wilding out.
Damn.
Ed, can we talk about the guy we're not supposed to be talking about? I don't want to get called out, so I think I think we're allowed to mention him, but
we should be allowed to mention him because this is very good.
Before you get there, Ed, I want to give a quick shout out to my guy Lee Warren. This is one of our avid readers. He sent me on Instagram his rankings for the R. Kelly albums. And he has this one at number 3. Is it number 3 on your list as well?
It's near the top. I can't remember if it's number 3. Definitely not 1 or 2.
He went
It's
R.
probably top 5.
Yeah, he went R, Chocolate Factory, the self-titled, 12 Play, and then Happy People You Saved Me.
The R is not number 1. I know that,
Mm.
but
The buffet has to be up there somewhere, right?
The buffet is last.
If you call that, if you call up there at the end, then yes. But no, this was a very good album to me. I'll keep it short because we aren't allowed to talk about him. We talk about his 12 play record and how monumental that was, and we'll get to that one later on. But to me, this is the one that solidified him as the voice of the era. And from there, it was just nowhere but up. So no matter what evil he did, and he probably did do a lot of evil, I can't take away from the impact that record had on this era, and it was huge.
Amazing. Tom, can we talk about Jodeci's album, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel? Because I think Dalvin says that this is the most recent Jodeci album. He completely ignores the one that came out a couple years back. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. Can we do that?
No.
No.
I mean, personally, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll never play that album again.
Oh,
it didn't work for me. But if the members ignore it, then we can ignore it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I still don't think it's as bad as people say. It's not great, but my gosh, there were 20 worse albums last year.
I love the thing that made me appreciate this album even more was the stories I've heard behind it, with the basement coming together, and Jodeci to work on it in Rochester, New York, and finding out where all those artists are now, who they've become. It's just an epic story. And this is Kyle, an album, period, right here.
With a T?
Oh,
yes.
With the T.
With the T.
No. What I love about this album is the production. Like Devontae really took his production to another level with this one. To me, it still sounds fresh to this date. Like when I listen to Jodeci's first 2 albums, you can tell that those albums came from the 90s. Great albums, but this one, I think he had a little bit more of that West Coast influence from Dre on it. And I mean, it still sounds great today. Like Freaking You, Ed, that's a classic.
It is, but I will say this because your boy got to be the one that always brings it down a little bit. I like this album a lot. I think it's over time has gotten to be a little overrated to me because it's just too long of a record.
Yes.
There's a lot that could be trimmed off. But what I like the most is what you really pointed out was the production and the sound, and the singles have gone on to stand. Another one that stands the test of time because you can throw in those singles and they still sound fresh today.
You know
Love You for Life, epic record.
You know what's weird? When I listen to that album, like, I don't know. I like the first half, but the second half is when it gets really good. And that's when they get into that mid-tempo slow jam section. And Tom, there's an epic Jodeci line. I still don't know what it means to this date, but pump me while I pump you. What is going on there, Tom?
We'll talk about that off air, Kyle.
All right.
Listen, were the interludes all necessary? That kind of, to me, took away from some of it too.
Agreed. That's one thing that really slowed the momentum down as an overall album. And I know this album, again, is beloved because it's got so many great songs on it. But as a total body of work, I would have cut those interludes and like 3 or 4 other songs, and it would have been much, much tighter.
Yeah.
Love You for Life was about T-Boz, Lauren says. I don't know. I
don't know if it was about T-Boz.
She's in the video. She's in the video.
I don't know if it was about her, though.
All right. A couple more albums I want to get to here. Let me know your thoughts on this. We got Xscape, their second album. That was a big album.
Man, I love that album. Yes, I heard that album for the first time I was like a sophomore. I was on a school field trip, and this girl who had never met before until this trip, she had like the CD and she was listening to it behind me. And I was like, oh, let me hear that. And I listened to the whole album. She was like, I remember her saying, oh, you won't like it because it's like girls singing. I'm like, lady, I know about some R&B. Let me hear my girls. And I loved the album, and I listened to it and went home and copied it as soon as I could. Great album.
You know what's interesting, Kyle? As we go through these years, and we've talked about Xscape, in their past couple albums, it reminds me how underrated they become simply because I don't think they're around to carry on the Xscape name and continue to celebrate it.
Yeah.
Because they haven't really been together. And if you look at the quality of the work they've put out over the years, they don't really get the credit they deserve, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, they have hits, and I think people need to. Well, I mean, to be fair though, they're not really on the road touring. They have done a couple more shows over the past few years, but I mean, they need to get back on the road with all 4 members and really capitalize on what they built. Ed, can we talk about Silk's second album?
Of course, we're talking about Silk. Yes.
What do you like about this album?
I think that it is so cohesive. I know that there are some like label issues going on, and this not an album that the group really likes because of a lot of stuff going on and stuff that they kind of struggle with. But as a fan, from a fan perspective and a quality perspective, it's a really strong album. Not as good as at first, not as good as the album that would come after this. They were still trying to find themselves a little bit after being kind of on their own and just trying to find where they wanted to take their sound in 95. But it came with some great singles, some great album cuts, and overall solid body of work. If someone considered this kind of like, because we'll talk later about our like favorite albums of the year. And while this probably won't make it into most folks' top 10, it's still in a year like 2021 would by far be the best album of the year. That's what quality we're talking about here.
Yeah. Tom, let's talk about Brian McKnight's second album, I Remember You. And what I love about these albums is like these came before, and Joe is another one we'll talk about next episode. But these are albums that came out before they truly blew up. And it's kind of cool just to go back and listen to these albums and see where they were at. Maybe it's not as mainstream as some of their later stuff, but it's kind of a cool listen.
No, I agree. And this album has some cuts I really enjoy. On the Down Low is one of them. Up Around My Way is another one. Like, these are just cuts I still play. And you're right. I mean, the people might think Anytime was his debut album just because that's when he blew up. But
right,
he's definitely got a catalog before this of really quality work as well.
Yeah. And then 2 groups that I'll bring up here, or 3. We've got Intro, After 7, and Tom, we got to give a shout out to DJ Soulchild because he'll be proud of this one. We got to talk about Portrait, which apparently, apparently this Portrait album is like the greatest album of all time. I haven't heard it, so
good.
I can't confirm.
It's a good album, yes. All 3 of the albums that you mentioned are very good. I doubt there's an album we'll mention today that's of poor quality because the bar was just that high in 95. But no, great album that's kind of overlooked today. I don't know about it being the best of all time, but maybe it's Soul Child's joint, that and Horace Brown.
You didn't name Subway yet. Is that discussion coming, or
that's a debut album?
Gotcha. Ed, I'm anxious to hear Ed speak on that one.
Oh, I got some Subway talk, but we'll save that.
I guess we'll have to get into the rookies of the year now. Are you guys ready for this talk?
Well, if you want to, because wait till we get to these rookies.
All right, I've got 2 collages to get through.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go through this quickly, but maybe not too quickly. And you guys give me your take on whatever you want, and maybe I'll just throw it to you guys after. But we've got Adina Howard, we've got D'Angelo, Ed's baby mama Deborah Cox,
Ed's baby. Wow.
One of Tom's favorite artists of all time, Faith Evans.
Yes, sir.
Groove Theory, John B, Cut Close, Montel Jordan, Monica.
Oh,
let me get to the second collage. We got 3T, A Few Good Men, Soul for Real, Subway, Terry Ellis from In Vogue, and Tony Thompson. That's actually a pretty solid rookie class right there.
Rookie, that's a decade of a decade. Yes. You could have that in a decade. That was 1 year. I don't even know where to start because I can go 20 minutes on everybody.
How many legends were named right there? Jeez.
Ooh, we're gonna go there, Tom. Let me count.
No, let's not get into that argument.
Well, how many make it into the R&B Hall of Fame? Because if Monica's not getting in,
here we go with this again.
Oh my God!
If Monica's not getting in,
Monica didn't get in. None of these are getting. So.
Maybe D'Angelo, but let's get started here. Tom, I'll throw it to you. Let's talk about John B. I'm gonna give you the opportunity. Bonafide, signed to Babyface, and he creates this album.
Love this album. I'm not saying it's a classic, but I will say it's very good. I probably give this one, for me, a 4.5. I don't know what Ed gives on his scale. Ed's rankings are the official rankings that we go by here. So for me, it's a 4.5. I love the way this album flows, and really outstanding debut for me.
It's very good. Again, I just listened to this pretty recently on Soul and Stereo. I ranked John B's entire discography. I think I had this one at a 4, but still, it's very, very high on the list. And when you talk about debuts, it's hard to beat that. I remember, though, in 95, people were confused because they thought he was Babyface. Yeah. They were like, this is Babyface. Yes, they thought he was literally Babyface. Hearing that.
Yeah.
But that just shows how good he is.
Yeah, when you listen to Pretty Girl, it sounds like Babyface.
Yeah, he sounds like Babyface.
The duet, Someone to Love You.
Do you guys love do you like Someone to Love You? That's kind of poppy to me.
I like it more than I did then. I will say that. I didn't like it then. I was not a big fan to this day. I'm still not a big fan of Pretty Girl. It might be just because the ladies wore it out. But the ladies loved some John B back in 95, by the way.
But this was an awesome album. Sorry.
I was about to say what you were going to say. Despite that, I still love this album, and it's good. And it goes to show that even if you don't love the singles, there's still enough meat in the album cuts that'll keep you coming back.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the album cuts, though. I mean, to me, most of them are above average. Even we talk about the singles, but he had some cuts on here that were really good as well. So, and for those who want to dig in the crates out there, there's a bonus track called Butter Hips. If anyone's ever heard that, love that song. Look that one up.
My wife was actually talking about that song a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever heard it because I didn't know what she was talking about.
Look it up.
The next album I want to get into is Monica's album. What I love about Monica's debut, she was like 14 at the time, but she sounds like a grown woman. Vocally, killing it, still killing it today. And so many great records on there. You have the big singles. You got the record With You, which to me is like her best song because that song is incredible.
Yes.
Ed, at that age, killing it like she did.
Again, y'all want to know why I am so picky in 2021. I have to remind myself it's 2021. Listen to that debut. That girl was 13, 14 years old recording these songs. What excuse do these 25-year-olds coming out here sounding like wombats and aardvarks on these records? I'm like, what is, you are 14 out singing everybody 20 and 30 years later. What is happening? And I think that this album just goes to show that talent has no age. If you got talent, you can put it together. And this Monica joint, again, this is another one. The ladies in my high school, especially Don't Take It Personal. I wasn't that big into that song, but that was like the lady anthem in 95.
Ed, I need you to do something for the people right now.
What's that?
Can you simulate the sound of an aardvark?
Well, I can try, but you can also just go turn on some of the albums of some of these ladies that came out in 2020.
Oh, man.
I won't name names, and you can hear all of the zoo animal sounds that you would like.
Well, in a serious note, let me just say, I had a life-changing moment to a Monica song. I was at an R&B show in an arena, and the DJ played Before You Walk Out My Life. And I was like, you're going to play a kind of like a slower ballad in a setting like this to try to hype a crowd up. But man, it just made me realize how much energy that she brought to that ballad. And I was like, you know what? It gave me a new recognition of that song.
Yeah.
5-star song for me. And to me, that's my favorite Monica song right there.
Tom, you keep hitting on everything that I'm saying. Next time somebody slanders one of my reviews, I'm going to take them back to the audio of this podcast. When I say that the music today lacks energy, I don't mean that the beat has to be fast. I don't mean that someone has to be screaming on the song. You listen to like the last minute and a half of that song, that is all pure energy and emotion.
Yes.
You feel what she's saying. That is what's missing. And she's not yelling and screaming, but she's giving you her all. Oh, Monica showed them how it was done and was 14 years old.
But we can't forget about Soul Shocking Carlin with those hip hop drums because that really added a different element to it.
Oh, definitely.
So amazing. Can we talk about Faith Evans' debut? Because when we talk about Twitter thrillers, this is a Twitter thriller. People love this album. I mean, Soon As I Get Home is like top 3 greatest R&B song ever. But there's just so much more on that album that we can talk about. Tom, talk about this Faith Evans album.
Soon As I Get Home, arguably, is the best R&B song in the 90s. Ballad, at least.
It's up there. No, it's up there.
I'll argue that. But what I love about Faith Evans' story is that before she came out with this album, she was doing songwriting for other artists behind the scenes. I think that's so cool. I love to read these backstories. And she was around doing her thing, and then this album came out. I have a hard time calling this one a classic, like Kyle said the Twitterverse does. I think it's an outstanding debut, though. Probably a 4-star album from me. There's so many great songs on here. You know, certainly gave birth to a legend. Obviously, no, it goes without saying for me, Hall of Famer. We'll debate that if you want, Ed. But Faith album, you know, it's not my favorite by her. We've talked about that in more recent episodes. I preferred a few others I really, really liked. But it's still a really good album.
I mean, we've talked about this before. I don't want to rehash too much old ground, but this is my favorite Faith album. I think it is her best work. And I agree because in 95, again, this is another John B situation. When I heard the first song, You Used to Love Me, I thought it was all right. Like that beat was kind of womp, womp, womp. It was different. It was different energy. I liked it. But it wasn't until Soon As I Get Home that I was like, okay, we got something here. And that's when I got the album, and one of the best albums to me this year because it is so seamless from front to back. Tom was talking about albums where like he had a hard time giving someone like the full Monty if you have to skip something. There might be one song maybe I skip on this one, maybe. But it is just such a strong listen from front to back.
There was a 5-star Faith Evans song on a soundtrack in 1995. Ed, do you know which I'm talking about?
On a soundtrack in 95.
And not the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. I'm talking about a different one.
I don't know. I think you got me on this one.
High School High.
High School High, yes.
I never heard of the movie. Never heard of that movie, but I just can't. It's an amazing song.
Again, there is a time where these movies were so forgettable, but we remember the soundtrack. High School High is somewhere back there. Had the Woo Wear song on it. I love that soundtrack.
All right. Can we talk about Montel Jordan's debut? We got the huge anthem, This Is How We Do It. It's always been interesting, and I got to give Montel so much props for this because I don't know how you follow up with This Is How We Do It. That was an anthem to this day, like one of those timeless records, but he was able to build a career for himself and like reinvent himself many, many times after that. But in that moment, Ed, you can tell anyone about This Is How We Do It. Like that was the record.
That was the record. But again, if you were here in 95, you knew that there was more to it than that. He was not at the time. We loved that song, but when he came out with Something for the Honeys and all those other records, we were like, okay, Montel is keeping it up. There was never a time that I remember people saying, oh, he's got that one song and nothing else, because he continued to follow up with different sounds that continue to kind of strengthen his legacy. I think he had a song like about his daughter or something. Like he had a lot of singles around this time that continued to just flip from sound. It wasn't like he was remaking the one hit over and over again. So from jump, if you were with us in 95, you know that he was more than just that one song.
It's interesting. I see our boy Shaquille Perry, who was not even close to being born at the time this song came out, saying he never wants to hear it again and he hates it.
Wow.
However, I was around in 95, and I remember how big it was. It crossed over to pop.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me when that song comes on, no matter where you are, you're not jamming to that song. That song is a groove. Come on.
Yep. It is an absolute groove. But I understand what Shaquille is saying, because that song, like from commercials and everything else, it's just been like running to the ground. It's kind of like I was talking about Kanye's Power song. How I love that song back in the day. Now it comes on, I'm turning it off. But because I came up in that era of 95 with like that, just the incredible energy around that song and the other songs he had too. I never got tired of it. I play it to this day.
Well, it's crazy with that record, Ed, because Montel is singing on the song, but he's really rapping.
He is.
And it's crazy if you think about it, because he was way ahead of his time when he did that.
Well, at the time it was innovative. Like today, I'm sick to death of it. But he definitely had vocals, as he proved later on. It was not, again, just wasn't a one trick pony. That was something he did on one song, but then he was proving his vocal prowess from then on.
And this is a epic moment for my city, for Vancouver. This is actually like one of those like urban myths. Montel Jordan actually came to Vancouver and performed at a mall in Vancouver when this song came out. Like, that's how big this song was, but it also takes me back to like those moments when artists would go to a mall, make the mall go crazy, pack the malls and just perform. Like, that doesn't happen anymore.
No, I kind of miss those eras. I think it was my wife and my brother-in-law said they saw Destiny's Child like that. Like, imagine seeing Beyonce the first time, like in a mall or like it's some random outdoor festival thing. I think Busta Rhymes is another artist a friend was telling me about that did the same thing. I miss just those little spot shows that these artists did. And that's how they kind of learn their chops and learn how to perform and learn their little routines. Like, y'all got to put in some work. That's why they throw you on TV today and you sound terrible on the BET Award. You haven't been trained. You haven't been groomed. You haven't learned your chops.
Tom, can we talk about D'Angelo, the Brown Sugar album? Now, this is one of those albums.
The one Tom likes.
Oh, man.
I mean, we have Voodoo, which Tom doesn't really like. We got the most recent one that Tom doesn't really like, Black Messiah.
Listen,
we've got Brown Sugar, and this is one guys, I know you like.
After this episode, I'm going to go back and study Voodoo one more time. I'm still working on it.
You've been studying that since the 8th grade. Give
Tom,
it up.
Tom, next time, have a little bit of this. Got Snoop Dogg. And then listen to the Voodoo album and tell me how it is.
I think I might need weed, actually, to be honest. And for that one and Black Messiah album, neither of them I could get into. I think I need to be on something. Anyway, the Brown Sugar album, man, I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's going to be in my top 3. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I've actually grown to appreciate it more in recent years, believe it or not. Songs like All Right speak to me in recent years. You know, like a song like that, it tells you everything's going to be all right. You put that on, you feel good instantly. You know, and man, there's even album cuts I love on here better than the singles that were chosen, like Cruisin', the cover. It is what it is, but oh man, this album, I can't get enough of it. And it's just a perfect length too. I love it. It's not too many songs. It is no needless intros and interludes. That's what I'll add, man. Fill us in.
He gets in and he gets out. This is another one that when Brown Sugar dropped, this sounded like nothing else on the radio. I remember exactly where I was sitting in the kitchen when this video dropped. And I was like, is he talking about what I think he's talking about? I think he's talking about what I think he's talking about. But yes, this album was one that capitalized off of that because you had Brown Sugar and then you had Lady and Me and Those Dreaming Eyes. I actually really like the Cruising cover. Like the singles alone are great, but then the album cuts are just as good. It's 10 tracks of that. It's very tight, very cohesive, and it is one of the building blocks, as we mentioned before with Maxwell and Badu. Those are the 3 pillars to me are the building blocks of neo soul that would take off to the next level in the next decade. So we can look to D'Angelo here for starting to build that foundation.
It's interesting. Can I just mention something real quick? I want your guys' feedback because they say the pillars of neo soul was Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, and they throw Maxwell in there. But to me, Maxwell's debut album didn't sound anything like Badu and D'Angelo's. So I was always curious to why they looped all those together.
Well, it doesn't when it comes to, because you're right, Badu and D'Angelo kind of feel like a brother-sister type thing. But when you're talking about, I hate to use the word vibe because good God, y'all wore that out. But when it comes to the structure of the songs, when it comes to the songwriting, and when it comes to leaning more into the instrumentation of the songs, so it doesn't really have the construction of the other ones, but almost like it's a spiritual successor because it feels like that, even though it's not built the same way. So of course, when we got to like Embryo and those other albums, that definitely felt more in that line. Yeah. But originally, I think it's one of the building blocks. It's a different block.
Gotcha.
Now, Let's talk about Deborah Cox debut. This is a Canadian of mine. I love this album, but can I just say one thing here? The song "Where Do We Go From Here"? That song is top 3 saddest song of all time.
That song was actually selected as like our high school, whatever it is, like the senior class.
Wow.
They selected that. They had originally picked, I think, the Tamia "Missing You" song. No, I'm wrong. They picked this one first, and then the "Missing You" song came out with Brandy and Tamia.
Yeah.
So then they like tried to rewrite it and make it that one. And I was like, no, my baby mom's is already our song. So we ended up having 2 senior class songs.
Wow.
Yeah.
But Tom, this debut.
I love this album as well. Probably, I know her second album gets the most credit because it had the bigger singles, but from front to back, I think I prefer her debut. Once again, I always go to the album cuts. I mean, this one just had some standout album cuts to me, and they don't really ever get the attention. I mean, Ed, which one did you prefer?
I prefer the second one for sure, but this one, incredible. Sound of My Tears should have been a video. There's so many songs here that should have been singles because they're so strong and solid. And y'all know how I stand over my girl Deborah. I'm to this day waiting for a new album. Come on, give us something. But this one, again, I remember the first time I saw the video for Sentimental, and it was just something that was very, very different with her in the club and backstage looking in the mirror. Just different vibes, and I love that she was able to bring something new and different to the table. You knew from that single that, like, okay, she's going to be a big deal.
We're going on 13 years, by the way, since her last album, for anyone counting.
Wow.
Ugh, me.
It Could Have Been You is on this album too, right?
Yep.
That's a great
song. Sure is.
That's a great song. Man, we have so many more debuts to go through.
Subway.
We're not there yet. Relax.
Down.
All right.
Jared from Subway.
But Tom, I'll give you this one. Groove Theory. Don't you love the song?
Oh man.
Tell me.
I gotta walk out of the room. I'm getting too excited about this album.
Player, yes. That's probably my favorite song this year.
Do you manage Amel LaRue?
I can't even get an Amel LaRue interview.
Wow.
I mean, come on. I don't even know what to say about this album. It's one of my personal favorites of all time. This album reminds me, the sound of it just reminds me of New York City. The way they tapped into the production and front to back, man, I just love this one. Ed, I can't get enough.
Tell Me might be my favorite song of this year. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. I've always said if I was a rapper, I would have sampled the crap out of this song. Why hasn't anybody done this yet?
Hey, don't say that.
Pop that soul beat up.
You better be careful. Mustard might take that beat and flip it.
Oh, no, not Mustard. No. I need 2004 Kanye to take it before he lost his mind. Somebody with some sense. Ninth one to get on the beat. But anyway.
Ninth one.
Like,
wow.
I need someone to take some liberties with this one. But even beyond that, like, I love the album as a whole. Again, it was just something different. And there was so much chemistry between Amel and Trey. And not this. So many great songs this year. What can I say?
Man.
That's a great album.
Such a great album.
Ed, I'm going to give you these two right here. These are your two personal favorites. We have Cut Close.
Yes.
And we have Adina Howard.
Oh, my girl. Yes. Look, play. First, I'll start with Adina, and I'll make it quick because I know time is getting short. I know that Adina is the prototype one-hit wonder. And yes, she had one big hit. And yes, it was from this album. But I implore anybody who has not heard the album itself to go check it out. That was a very solid album that unfortunately didn't get the credit that it deserved. And if you watched Unsung, you'll know why. And I won't go into that story with Brandy and Wanye and a big mess.
Isn't it interesting? I want to mention one thing. The album cover of Adina Howard, Do You Want to Ride? I mean, this was 25 years ago, and it was probably considered risque at the time. Look what people are doing on their album covers now. Look how far we've come. They're pretty much naked on their album cover. She just was showing a little bit. It's crazy.
But that's the thing. We don't talk enough about how she really pioneered. Talk about Lil' Kim. This was before Kim. We talk about Foxy. This was before Foxy. Way before Nick and all these people today. To me, this is the first artist of my era that I remember really using her sexuality as a part of her story and her power, so to speak. So to me, and when I think it was Biggie was talking about in an interview, kind of refining Lil Kim's image and how he wanted Lil Kim to be the Black Marilyn Monroe. A lot of that he took from Adina because rappers loved Adina. So she is the prototype for a lot of what we saw. And we don't give her enough credit today for that.
And Cut Close Ed's
Cut
favorite
Close,
group.
yes. My favorite. Now, this won't be because this year is so great. I can't even put it in my top 3. But if we're talking personally, this is one of my favorite albums ever. My boy King Keith did that thing. I thought that the girls were very underrated vocally, especially Athena. This is a very solid album from front to back. Again, if you just know Cut Close, it's Keith's backup singers. They're way more than that. I challenge you. Go check out that album after that. That's your 2 homework assignments. Adina, Cut Close. Go listen to those albums.
Amazing. We'll get into the second collage now here. We don't really have a lot of time left, I'll be honest, but I want to highlight a couple here. We've got 3T, Soul For Real. I don't know if I can listen to Candy Rain anymore, though. I'm sorry, guys.
That Soul For Real album was very good.
I've seen a lot of comments about that one. Tony Thompson is another one that people really rave about. That album is actually really, really, really good.
Another very strong album.
A Few Good Men. Seen a lot of love for that one as well.
Yeah, that one was solid.
Terry Ellis from In Vogue. See a lot of love for that one. And Tom, Subway.
Finally, let's go, Ed. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Give me that foot-long turkey, Ed. Let's
go.
My
Calm down. Anyway, the thing that always struck me about Subway, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure they were young, but that song that they had was 702. Like, y'all are pretty young to be talking such freak things.
They were signed to Michael Bivins, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Both of those groups.
Yeah. Pretty interesting. But Tony Thompson's album, I really want to talk about this one because, like, that album has some gems on there. Troy Taylor did a lot on there. Missy Elliott and Devontae did a record on there. Like, there's a lot of great songs on there.
Yeah, this record, we really thought that he was really going to be a big solo star after this one because we knew what he came from High Five. A transition well. We talked before about some artists like my boy Tevin, for example, didn't really transition well into this new era. He went from High Five to Sexational. That sounds ridiculous, but he was able to transition very well to a more kind of, I won't say salacious, but a more adult sound, and he just did it seamlessly. The vocals were still there. He had great production. I really hate that we lost him so soon because I think that, I'm not saying that he would have been Usher 2004, but there was a lot more gas left in the tank than what we got from Tony.
Yeah.
We got a comment here. We forgot about Brownstone this year. Did that come out this year?
Was
Brownstone this year or last year?
Yeah,
I thought it was last year. But
I'm gonna wiki this. But while I do that, can we talk about Quincy Jones' Juke Joints? That's the one.
Man,
you put a move on my heart. Brownstone was 95 as well. Who knew?
Yeah, their debut was 95.
Okay, it was January 10. That was a good album.
Well, I got it. Oh yes, I got to give love to Grapevine. I got to give love to If You Love Me. Those girls, you could tell they were some church tone vocals because you don't get like that unless you've been up in somebody's choir stand.
But the Quincy Jones album with the Tamia record, that Tamia record is also top 3 of the 90s. That song is amazing.
That song is great, and this was another showcase. Whenever, Quincy is not going to slap his name on some garbage. So when you see that, it's a seal of approval in it of itself. And this is another solid one that in another year would be the best album of the year. Yeah. But it's just so much incredible talent that it just, not that it's forgotten, but probably isn't celebrated as much as it should be.
Yeah. I just love the way this album was put together. The diversity of the sounds on here, the talent that came together. I mean, it just makes me miss getting projects like this so much, guys. Yeah. It's never coming back, unfortunately.
Never coming back.
Never coming back.
All right, I think that covers all of it. I don't know how we missed Brownstone, but
it's so much. It's just so much. I mean, did we talk about like Intro had an album? I think somebody mentioned that in the comments. Like, there's just so much. We'd have to do 2 hours, y'all. We're sorry.
Yeah. Someone would have to give me a refill of this.
Have you even taken a swig of that yet?
Oh no, I had this last
Probably
night.
before.
Yeah.
Oh, it's empty.
Yeah, it's empty.
Well, that's why we didn't have sound for the first 5 minutes. He was dipping to it.
I got another bottle in the kitchen if anyone wants to join me later.
Oh,
But
boy.
before we do that, let's get Lawrence here. That's our special guest for today. He's gonna help us participate in our Rookie of the Year award as well as the top 3 albums. I'm gonna bring in Lawrence now. He's a Lawrence, if you want to unmute and show yourself. Lawrence is a avid listener. He's been with us every week, and he
My
looks
man
like
Jay. Good.
What's up, man?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
Chilling.
What's up?
We got 2 from VA in the house.
Yup. You know I'm representing.
So Lawrence,
Always.
a couple of questions here. First of all, were you born before or after 1990?
Oh, God.
I was born in 93.
What the heck is going on here?
Why do we
Bunch
get
of
all
babies who listen to our show? It's crazy.
But babies that are intelligent. I like intelligent babies.
I
My
appreciate
mom
it. I
had an
respect it.
extensive collection growing up, and when she would go to work, I would sneak and listen to her CDs. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's how I got to my music knowledge.
Wow.
Damn.
Well, Lawrence, I appreciate you for joining us. I know you're with us every week, so you know how this goes. We're gonna do our Rookies of the Year. I hope you did your research as well. But if you didn't, go on our Instagram. You can find the collage. But Tom, we'll start off. Who is your Rookie of the Year for 1995?
So I'm gonna do the same thing I did last week. I'm gonna pick a rookie and not put them in my top 3 because I don't want to duplicate. So my rookie, my boy, John B. Have to do a bona fide album. They could have went in any direction really, but that's my guy. I got to show love to him, and I love that album. But bona fide from John B.
Oh yeah, we also forgot the Michael Jackson album, but it happens.
I mean,
it's the greatest hits.
Wait,
album.
That's the greatest hits.
It's the greatest hits, but there is a second disc that has some new songs on it. So I know
is that the one with
someone
the is that the album with the R. Kelly record?
Yes,
I think so.
I think that was Unard. Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was all
I had
right.
Scream on it.
Yeah, Scream
Yeah.
was on it.
Okay, well, shout outs to Michael Jackson. I don't know how we forgot you. I'm blaming the Snoop Dogg wine, but Lawrence, who is your Rookie of the Year?
I'll have to go with Monica.
Mm.
Because she could have easily got lost in the shuffle between Aaliyah and Brandy, but with that voice, I mean, she was 14, like y'all said, singing like a 30-year-old church lady. Like,
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. And her debut album was just like, it's 16 songs, but like they all are like a cohesive piece of work. Like I can listen to that from front to back, and that's very rare for me.
Mm.
Wait, hold on. Before we continue, I need to clarify something. Is your name Lawrence? Because I'm looking at your screen and I always wanted to call you Lawrence.
It's Lawrence. My mom gave me that name. Don't ask me how it came up.
Wow. All right.
It's
all right, now
Lawrence.
we know.
It's my middle name.
Yes, but he's Derry to me, so that's what we do.
Derry. Okay, but don't worry. We were calling people by the wrong names. Theo Sullivan. His name was
Yeah.
If he's there.
his name was Brandon.
Leave
So-
Theo alone. That's you dipping in the Snoop Dogg. How you get Theo out of
man.
that?
Ed, who's your Rookie of the Year?
Well, going by Tom's rule of not having the rookie in the top 3, my top 3 was tough, but I have to show love to the homie D'Angelo because he, as I said, yes, he was the one that helped build the blocks of the next decade, and one of the best albums of this year. It's not in my top 3 though.
How is he not in the 3? That's crazy.
Well, I got 3 better. That's why.
You bumped him out for Men of Vision. That's crazy.
No, that was last year.
Tom, it's A Few Good Men, actually.
Oh, sorry.
Get it
Few
right.
Good Men.
My Rookie of the Year, and he won't be in my top 3 either. But I'm gonna go with Montel Jordan because I feel like This Is How We Do It is better than any other song that came out in '95. I'm gonna say that. Someone argue this with me, but This Is How We Do It is the greatest song of all time.
Oh, I'd argue, but you got 10 minutes left, so I won't do that.
All
but
right.
I do like that song.
Listen,
This podcast is sponsored by Montel Jordan.
that's my guy.
I had to put that out there.
I can live without hearing it every now and then. I mean, it's a great song, but I can't keep listening to it over and over again. It gets too repetitive.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can still hear it. I can hear it all day. I don't know.
You guys are crazy.
You had to be there, guys. You had to be there.
You had to be there. You had to be there.
Yeah. top 3 albums of 1995. You know how this goes. This is a tough one. I haven't even really thought about this yet, but Tom, I'll let you go first. You may influence my decision.
Hold on, I gotta look. Shaquille, did a Mariah Carey album come out this year? I'm trying to remember the list here.
Yes. Daydream.
I know, I'm just kidding.
About.
I'm just messing with our boy. I'm not putting Mariah in my top 3. You kidding me?
Oh my God.
Jodeci,
you can fight with him after.
Jodeci is my number 3. My favorite album from Jodeci. And like I said earlier, I love the story behind this one. It's made me appreciate it more. I'm going with that one.
Lawrence?
Well, I have a runner-up, and y'all didn't mention this. I mean, they always get lost anyway, but Immature.
Oh,
we
yeah.
got it.
Wow.
That's true.
Wow.
That's a runner-up. I mean, it's not in my top 3, but
That's
since y'all ain't mentioned it, I'll bring it up because we can't. Was it I Can't Stop the Rain? That's a great song.
That one did have some. What was it? Feel the Funk. Oh, I wore that out.
That one and the one where he's crying in the music video. What's the name of the music video?
It was the 90s. Everybody cried in the music video.
Baby, there's a Please Don't Go. I think that was it.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
like
had
that
some
song
joints on it.
Wow.
I forgot.
But my
about
number
Immature.
3 would have to be, I think it would be kind of like blasphemy if I don't put her in there, but it has to be Daydream, Mariah. Because that's a great, I think it was a bigger step up from Music Box. I don't like Music Box. I think it's too Celine Dion-ish for me, per se. I feel like they're trying to push her into that adult contemporary mode too hard for me. And then when we get to Daydream, that's when Jermaine Dupri comes in. Long Ago should have been a single. Melt Away definitely should have been a single.
Melt Away should have been a single. Yes, sir.
And I love the cover she did was Open Arms. Love that.
Yes. Yep.
I like it better than the original. I mean, I think I like every Mariah cover better than the original.
Let me ask you a question.
Not the George Michael cover.
Oh yeah, I don't like that one.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What year did you discover that album? Since you're young when it came out.
When I was in high school, I want to say from like freshman all the way to maybe like my senior year, like the only thing I would listen to was 90s New Jack Swing and Brandy and Monica. That was it.
Gotcha.
So I want to say probably around 2010.
Damn. Interesting.
Because YouTube was popping, so I was just like digging the crates through YouTube.
Nice.
He's listening to this and y'all listening to T-Pain. See, this is why he's my guy.
Your friends must have made fun of you so bad, man, for listening to this old stuff.
Yes, you don't understand. Like, Darius, what's that Jodeci song? I was like, oh, this one? Oh, yeah, thank you. Like, yeah. It came to me for all that. I was that 90s trivia person.
Wow.
Dope.
Ed, what's your number 3?
Well, not trying to copy my VA boy, but number 3 for me also is Mariah's Daydream. Again, I don't think it's her best, but it's very, very close to being her best. And I love it to this day.
Great album. My number 3, I'm stuck here between Faith, Deborah, and Monica because I love all 3. I'm gonna go with Monica as my number 3. I don't love every single song on here, but the songs that I do love are incredible. We forgot about Why I Love You So Much because that's a great record. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. I didn't really like Just One of Them Days though. That's the one record that I know a lot of people love. I don't love that album. I mean that song.
I didn't love it either at the time. It was all right, but they was not a fan.
I think it was a great start for her, but I really don't care for it like that.
Yeah. Someone in our comments is probably gonna yell at us, but
the ladies love it.
What it is. Tom, what is your number 2?
I'm reading these comments from our boy Jonathan B. The industry tried to push Whitney, Mariah, Tony, and Celine as adult contemporary.
Yes.
But I loved how Mariah broke out of
that. They did.
That absolutely. Did. And then I saw another one. Ed's top 2 are Faith and Cut Close. We'll see if that's true or not.
We'll see.
My number 2, I was raving about it earlier, D'Angelo's Brown Sugar, because just love it front to back. He set the groundwork for my guy, Music Soul Child, obviously, with the whole neo soul movement. You know, music to me refined it a bit more, and I love this Brown Sugar album.
Lawrence. Sorry.
It's fine. My number 2 It surprisingly is my number 2 because I made it my rookie, but I'm gonna have to go with Monica's Miss Thing album.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this song I've been looking for 10 years. It was a Japanese bonus track, and I could never find it. And it was a fan page Monica has on YouTube. They posted it maybe 6 months ago. It's called
Wow.
In Time, produced by Tim and Bob.
I have
I
heard
have
that
not
song.
heard
Great
Yes.
song.
That's a great song. Yes.
I have
You
not
heard it, yes.
Yep, I have heard
It
it.
I've
sounds
never
like
heard it either.
it sounds like one of the early recordings because it sounds kind of like New Jack Swingish.
Yep. That's
So
a
I
great
feel
song.
like they probably kept it for a bonus track, but overall the whole album is great. Only thing I really don't care for is the Usher duet, but other than that,
Mm.
I
Really?
enjoy it. Yeah, I don't like Let's Straighten It Out as much.
I like that.
I loved Tell Me If You Still Care. I like that one better than the original, and I grew up on the original because of my mom. But Monica,
Well,
she
yeah,
made it to her own. I love that. I still play that version out to this day.
I do love that version. It's not better than the original to me, but I do love that version.
Yes. Ed, number 2.
Number 2, I've hyped her all podcasts, and I do it again. To me, a 5-star release. My girl Faith Evans, her debut. I think it's that good, and I think it's worthy of number 2.
All right, Shaquille Perry's on track so far.
I don't know if he's gonna have Cut Close as his number 1,
I don't know. We'll see.
but it might be. My number 2 will have to be Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel. Tom, we talked about Pump It Back, but we got the record. Can We Flow? Fallen. That interlude's great. That album, again, I don't love the first half, but that second half, it's one of those albums you can just like hit play and just let it ride. I know the interludes are kind of annoying, but when it works, it really, really works.
Wait,
So,
is Pump It Back with that weird interlude in the beginning? If y'all know what I'm talking about?
yeah, pump me while I pump you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that
And
sounds jamming.
ironically, this is my favorite Jodeci album. I probably like the most underrated one.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like. Probably gotta re-listen to it, but I really don't like Diary of a Madman.
Ooh.
I like the debut. Maybe I just gotta re-listen to it because, like
The
I said, when I first discovered these, I was like 13, 14.
The first half of Diary of a Madman's amazing. The second half I don't love as much.
Okay.
But same thing with this one, because like I'm even looking at the track list. Good Love, that is an amazing song too, that Jodeci put together. So Jodeci will be my number 2. Tom,
Hold on, I'm gonna put Laurence on the spot. D'Angelo's Voodoo album. Do you like it or not?
See, let me tell you, like my mom even bought this. She even bought the cassette single with the Method Man song on it, and she thought, oh, it's gonna be good. And we both listened to it because I remember she was like, I don't know about this one, D. I don't know about this one.
Let's go.
But she ended up playing it out, so I guess she enjoyed it eventually. I don't know.
Listen,
all right.
If you have to play something like 70 times to like it, that means you forced yourself to like it because you bought it. It was different back then.
I will say this, player. It was a different era. When you bought an album, you listened to it.
Yes.
It's not like today
Yeah.
where you stream it and it's like, oh, okay, and you never revisit. So you are forced to live with albums back
well, yeah, you paid $13.99 for that album. You better like it.
Yep.
I do like
Exactly.
Spanish Joint. Spanish Joint's really good on there. I enjoy that.
It's not for me, but I definitely see why people like it. I'll
Mhm.
leave it there.
Tom, your number 1 album of 1995.
My number 1, Ed, you already know. What is it?
I already know, player. Hit us with your boy.
The Sound of New York City in 1995, Groove Theory's
Wow.
debut, and unfortunately only album. Man, front to back, just love it. I can just put this on repeat. You know, Amel went on to do some great things after this, but I always revisit this one. I think it's her best work. And
No question.
I would say I wish they would do a reunion, but obviously it'll never be the same as the original. So I'll just stick to this one.
Yep. What about you, Laurence?
My number 1, I gotta represent for Virginia. Born and raised, I gotta go with Brown Sugar.
There you go.
Yes.
This was actually one of the earliest memories of me listening to my mom's CD. I shouldn't have listened to it because my favorite song is the one with the curse words on it. So,
Wow.
Don't get in
but
trouble.
what's the song? When We Get By. It's so
Yes.
simple,
Yeah.
but it's
Yes.
so great.
Yeah.
I listen to that constantly, like almost every other day. I love
Love that song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's short and it's simple and it's straight to the point. It's a great piece of work.
It's
And
short, but
it
the
was-
songs aren't 2 minutes long. It's not that kind of
Yeah.
short. Y'all pay attention. There's substance.
I think we just have to reiterate the fact that it was groundbreaking, this album,
Yeah.
too. Like, it didn't sound like anything else at the time. And we
Correct.
can easily lose sight of that, and it influenced a lot after it.
And you said earlier, Tom, like the Maxwell and the D'Angelo comparison, because I feel like D'Angelo was more rugged on Brown Sugar, and Maxwell was kind of like clean in a sense, because
Mhm.
Maxwell was more like soul funk, and then D'Angelo
Yeah.
had like the hip hop funk. So yeah, it's like night and day. But it's both neo
Yeah.
soul, but it's just night and day.
Wow. Ed, we might have to replace you with Lawrence. I like this VA
Oh
native.
no, I'm trying to slide him into Tom's spot. So watch out,
Oh,
Tom. You got another one on you.
Listen, if we're going with someone from VA, Magoo is the first on our list.
That's
so.
true. That's
What?
true. Wait, hold on, Lawrence. Do you know the record Virginia by Clips?
That's
I
not
might
a
have
known-
heard it.
Oh,
I
you got to go
don't-
back and listen to it. You got to tell me if that's actually true about the about Virginia. Ed,
I can tell you it's true.
it is
Remember
Every bit
Tyra
of
B?
truth.
Tyra B. Yes.
I wonder what happened to her.
Go on So
I
in
don't know
Stereo.
where.
Go on soulandstereo.com to find out
I
what
was-
happened to Tyra B.
Oh wait, y'all interviewed her?
No, we didn't.
No,
Oh,
they did not
don't do
interview
me like
Tyra
that.
B. No.
I was
Alright.
rooting
Anyway,
for her. Yeah.
Anyway. Go
Anyway.
listen to that clip song, Virginia, and tell me if it's true.
I will do that as soon as I get off the podcast.
I don't know about Richmond, but it sure is true on the East Coast. I'm
Something
sure
about,
it's true. Richmond.
Chrome to the bone, dome. What's going
See,
on?
I
there,
grew
Ed?
up in the country. I grew up like 15 minutes away from North Carolina. So all the gunshots I heard was during hunting season. So
That's unfortunate. All right, Ed,
Wow.
what's your number one?
My number one, I am shocked that no one has mentioned it, but to me, another 5-star entry, the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack.
Oh,
To me, that is
It-
the best record. of
That
1990.
is, but we were gonna go with artists. So if it's not that one, is it Cut Close?
Oh, no, if we're talking personal favorites, yes, it's Cut Close.
Mm.
Everybody else under that, but no, this is the best record of the year to me, no question.
Yeah,
so who was your just miss then? If it wasn't, if you couldn't have picked this one and you had to bump everyone
Oh,
else up a
please, a
slot.
whole bunch of them. Basically, Groove Theory, D'Angelo, Cut Close, and Monica.
Yeah.
Probably my 4.
Mm.
Wow.
My number one is my entry point into R&B. It'll be Mariah Carey's Daydream album. Let me just tell you how important this album is. Without that album, I do not exist on the SoulBack podcast. And because this podcast was my idea, this podcast would not exist without that album.
Wow.
So, Daydream by Mariah Carey is my number one. I mean, I guess
He's
you guys
right.
I guess you guys could have done a podcast without me, but
No, he's right, because me and Ed would have probably choked ourselves out by now. It wouldn't have existed.
Oh, we wouldn't
Yeah.
have made it. Yeah, we wouldn't have made it episode 10.
Wow.
so that's it for 1995. We'll be back next week with 1994. But before we get out of here, Ed, what's going on with SoulAndStereo.com?
Well, solarstereo.com. If you missed it last week, go check us out. Me and my boy Derry, we had a nice, great, incredible head-to-head on our girls Xscape, and Xscape showed us some love there. So if you missed that last time, go check that out. And shout out again to my boy for joining me for that one.
That was a great one.
It was fun. Other than that, really, we don't have too much going on because of the holidays. Again, shout out to my homie. I just threw out of my head. My boy Jacob Frazier. He's gonna kill me for this, but he had a great synopsis of 20 best emerging artists here in the South for the last year. So that one did very well. Show some love there. Go see them artists who are on the cusp of blowing up before they do blow up. And then finally, in the hip hop community, as some of you may know, yesterday we had word that the legendary MF Doom passed away. So I am working on because I got to show tribute to my boy somehow. So
Yeah.
I have taken on the Herculean task of reviewing his entire discography. And it's like 20 some albums. So hopefully I'll have that up in the next couple of days. I'm almost done. If I can do this, maybe I will do Prince, because good God, these dudes have a bunch of albums.
Mm.
I love Prince. That's one of my favorite artists of all time.
I might need your help on this one.
Oh, anything after the album Come, I don't know anything except for like Musicology, because he has like 32 albums. I can't.
It's ridiculous.
No. Tom, you know I got soul.
No,
What's
it's
going
been
on?
kind of slow. I think the industry has been off for
Yeah.
a few weeks, so nothing really has been coming out that we could feature. You've been publishing a bunch of the interviews you did live on the site, so people could check those out who missed them.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're we're rolling out a new layout. We got some things going on behind the scenes to, do some bigger things in 2021, but nothing really out there to talk about.
No.
Anything on your end, Kyle?
I'm interviewing Jay Holiday in about a week, and you know how those Jay Holiday interviews go. He says anything, and I
Oh,
love it.
yes.
I remember that podcast.
Oh, man. It will go down in
Oh, man.
infamy.
It doesn't take much to fire Jay up, so stay tuned for that. And Laurent, I appreciate you for joining us. 1994 is next week. I don't know if we're going to have you on here, but I'm just going to throw this question at you just as a cliffhanger.
Okay.
The better album, Crazy Sexy Cool, or My Life?
Oh, dang, that's really hard. I'm gonna have to go with TLC because that album probably resonated the most with me because every family member I had that daggone red CD with the blue actual
Yes.
compact disc. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Crazy Sexy Cool.
All right.
We I just saw a comment here. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number is Aaliyah's best album.
Oh my gosh, it's time to go.
Who is,
Take me
this
with
isn't-
you, player.
This is not real life here.
No, it's
Come on, Tar Heels fan. We thought you were our boy.
Street
talking
Thing.
about?
Street Thing is a good song though, but
Young Nation
It's
is
a lot
good
of good
too.
songs, but we'll
Stay-
fuss about that next
stay
week.
tuned for the 1994 episode next week, and find out if our opinion is the same as Laurent's. Well, I appreciate you for joining us, Laurent. Thank you
Y'all for having me.
Yeah.
always
Thank you
tuning
Thank you for
in.
coming, man.
And for everyone listening out here, if you haven't checked this out, you can check us out on Spotify to re-listen to this. But for everyone that tuned in live, I appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week with another episode. And Tom, one more time for my man Snoop.
Oh my God.
This is actually really good. You guys need to get this, but we'll talk about it next week. We're out, and we'll talk next week.